Good morning, y'all. Another quarantine cooking school going on this morning. You know, I've had so many letters and requests from people to say, Paula, please don't stop these when the quarantine is up, because it just makes our day to have these to watch. So you know what? I think that's probably something that I can almost promise you that I'm not gonna quit. I'm not gonna quit doing them, even after things get back to normal. Because I've had way too much fun. I get so much correspondence from y'all and just hearing you talk. In fact, the recipe I'm gonna share today, y'all, a request came in from a couple out of Bluffton, South Carolina, which is just right over the Talmadge Bridge. And it's from Steve and Mary Ball. And they sent me the sweetest card. It was just so sweet and so encouraging, and you know, it just makes whatever work I do, it just makes it worthwhile to hear that I've made somebody smile, made them happy. So that's great. So anyway, they wanted to know if I would show everybody the recipe for Grandgirl's fresh apple cake from Georgia. And if you like apples, this is truly a wonderful cake. And it's a cake where you don't even have to pull out the mixer. And the recipe says to add all the ingredients in the order that they're given. Just add those in the bowl. So we're gonna start with sugar. Now there'll be a link where you can go online and find this recipe, but I'll try to tell you the measurements too as we go, in case you're writing them down. All right, the first ingredient to go in is 2 cups of sugar, 3 eggs. How much y'all really say?
A cup and a half, I think.
Cup and a, let's see what that says. Yes, a cup and a half of vegetable oil. This one's kind of hard to read, isn't it, Eddie? But it's a cup and a half, and all those other numbers on there, I have no idea what they mean.
I found the biggest picture to...
Yes, it's great. That, like millimeters, I don't know about those kind of words. All right, we got some orange juice, and I think maybe a half a cup. No, it says a quarter of a cup. That looks more than a quarter, doesn't it? Let's just see. It's a quarter of a cup. How could I doubt Eddie and Teresa's measurements? I don't think so. All right, then the next thing we're gonna do is add our flour. But I'm gonna incorporate this a little bit. You know, I just love making these kind of cakes that don't require a big old mixer. It just really makes it just like a little easier. And you're not gonna believe how good this cake is gonna taste. And I love a cake made with oil. If a recipe calls for oil, you can bet your bottom dollar that it's gonna be really moist. All right, so add our flour, and I think it's 3 cups. Yes, it's 3 cups of all-purpose flour. And I think it's 2 teaspoons, 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Soda. That kind of stuck in there, get all that out. And let's see how much cinnamon, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. And 1 tablespoon, I think it looks like a tablespoon of vanilla. Yes, it is. Okay. So we're just gonna keep mixing this up. And then we've got the apples to add to it, and coconut and nuts. My favorite nut, a pecan. This cake is, it's kind of very, oops, I forgot the salt. It wasn't in its right place. Let's see, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. But I usually use in sweet recipes a little bit more salt than the recipe calls for, because I just like that little sweet and kind of savory, you know, that you get. See how easy that was, y'all? We have just about got this thing ready to go into the oven, and I've got our oven preheating on at 325. And okay, so it calls for 3 cups of peeled and chopped, rather on the fine side, of apples. And I can't remember what kind of apples I bought, but they're cooking apples.
I think these were golden delicious. That's what it said on the tag.
Okay, I can't remember. There's so many apples out there that are available to us now. They just mate so many apples now and come up with a new strand. And some are better for cooking. Because I've got in fact, I bought the apples for another recipe that I wanted to share with y'all. But so I'm gonna be making that very soon, but it's with apples. All right, now let's see. 1 cup of coconut and 1 cup of chopped pecans. Okay. Now that coconut is gonna make this cake so moist, along with the apples. So you got all your apples and your coconut that, you know, it's really, really, those 3 things are gonna make a wonderful moist cake. Plus, after the cake comes out of the oven, y'all, we're gonna put a sauce on it and let it run down in there. And I'm telling you, when we get through, we could almost put this in a glass and drink it. Okay. Darn, when you get rid of that mix ready, it makes it so much easier. All right, so I'm gonna put this in a bundt pan, and you want it well greased. Because there's nothing any worse than going to the trouble and the expense of making a great cake, and then it won't come out of the pan. So I think we've got that one sprayed good enough. All right. Whoa. Eddie, you want to turn my pan for me, honey? Yes, yes, yes.
And this is in your kitchen classics?
Yes, it's in kitchen classics, but it may have been first in my second cookbook, The Lady and Sons 2. And then the classics, you know, I hate to say it's my favorite, but the classics cookbook is a combination of my first and second book together, which makes it so great because I didn't have to remember which book it was in, the first or the second one. Plus, it's got wedding photos and the recipes for all the things that we served at our wedding reception. All those recipes. So classics just, I don't know, classics are just hard to beat, period, aren't they? This pan sure does look full, doesn't it? Hope it doesn't bake out. I think I'm gonna put it on a cookie sheet, Eddie, to just make sure so we won't have this little mess as we can possibly have. All right, so we're gonna bake this cake, y'all, for 1.5 hours. So, which means we're gonna take a break right here. And then after an hour and a half, we'll come back and I'll share with y'all the recipe for the topping that we're gonna pour all over this wonderful cake. So see you in maybe 2 hours. Hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. Anyway, you'll be amazed at how fast time flies. Okay, y'all, our Grandgirl's apple cake from Georgia. I just took out of the oven. It's piping hot. So here we go, Steve and Mary. Now, the topping, we are gonna cook it for just a minute. We're gonna melt that butter, and then we're gonna add sugar, buttermilk, and soda. And we're gonna pour it over this cake, y'all, and we're gonna let it sit for 1 hour. And then we're gonna turn it out on a pretty cake pan. And it's gonna be hard to let it sit for an hour, but y'all are just gonna have to trust me. I can't sit here for an hour waiting for it to get ready so I can taste it to prove it to you, but you just take my word. Now, in fact, you take Steve and Mary Ball's word, because they know how good it is. All right, so melt butter. Okay, so our butter's melted. Now I'm gonna add our sugar. And we're gonna let this come to a rolling ball, y'all, for about 1 minute. And I'm gonna put in the baking soda and the buttermilk. There's something about buttermilk and soda. You know, I'm no scientist, but does anybody over there at that table know?
No, I don't.
But there's something about soda and buttermilk that does this magic stuff. So a rolling ball for about a minute. I make a fig cake. And that fig cake, Eddie, has a very, very similar topping, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's the buttermilk and the butter. Oh my goodness. I think it's identical. So this would be great on any cake. But you just want that sugar to dissolve. Ball, baby, ball. You know, they say watch pot never balls. It's only when you turn your back does it ball over. There we go, it's starting to ball. I think that's been long enough. The main thing you just want that sugar dissolved. Here we go. And I just took the cake out of the oven, y'all.
So, you can hear the searing.
I know. And you know what? I think that I want to put some holes in that cake. I'm swallowing hard, y'all. What have I got? This looks pretty good. This is Michael's meat thermometer. And it'll make great holes for that sauce to run in there. Just poke it all around. Around there. Okay, here we go again. That'll help that absorb into the cake a little bit quicker. I don't want to lose any of that that sauce to that hole in the center of the cake. I'm gonna have to look up that fig cake. In fact, I found that a friend had told me about a fig cake that her mother used to make, and she gave me the recipe. And one day I was just sitting around reading my brother's cookbook. I don't see it now. But it had the fig cake recipe in it. So Bubba was onto that cake long before I was. So I'm gonna look that up and see if that's not the identical. What, Lulu?
What's the matter?
Okay, so Steve and Mary, the hardest thing about this cake is waiting that 1 hour. So thank you so much for that beautiful card that y'all sent me and all the sweet, precious words that were in it. Love and best dishes, y'all. Hey y'all, it's Paula Deen. Now, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it and click the subscribe button as well as the notification bell to be alerted when I post a video. Love and best dishes, y'all.